Happy Thirsty Thursday, all my friends, and welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. On today's episode of the Prime, we're going to be breaking down week number 8 in the UFL and talking about week number 9. I actually remember to add myself to this show for unlike last week. Hope you guys enjoy the UFL. Hope you guys enjoy the content. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast as we try to be the number one hub for all things UFL this season. Today's episode? By the way, the championship matchups are all set in the UFL now. All the teams that are going to be playing for the playoffs 3 weeks have been sort of situated. The Birmingham Stallions and the Michigan Panthers will play for an opportunity to take on either the St. Louis Battlehawks or the San Antonio Brahmas over there on the XFL side, as every other team has been eliminated from playoff contention, which kind of sucks, right? Because, you have this league and you want to have entertaining matchups in the last couple weeks of the year. But now we get into week 8, 9, and 10, like are supposed to be, these big drama-filled weeks, at least in the NFL they are. And you just kind of have no drama. Like, you kind of know, like, obviously you have home field advantages still kind of up for grabs there in the XFL with the Battlehawks and the Brahmas. But on the other side, I'm pretty sure Birmingham has everything locked up on their side. They're probably not going to lose anyway, so let's be real here. But yeah, let's talk about it a little bit. Swing into week number 8. Thank you, my Aunt Judy, for liking the podcast. Always appreciate your love and support. For everybody else out there, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. If you're liking the UFL content, let me know down in the comment section. What's your favorite team in the UFL? I'm a little bit partial to the Michigan Panthers, a big Jake Bates guy. So let's swing into it. We got the first matchup. We got the Michigan Panthers that I just referenced at the top of the show. They got off to an early lead against the Memphis Showboats. They did tie the game up there at 6 apiece in the first quarter. But then Michigan scored another touchdown, put it up 12-6. They scored another touchdown before the end of the half to make it 18-6. Basically cruised from there. I mean, the game was tied briefly there in the fourth quarter, but Michigan drove the length of the field, punched in the game-winning field goal touchdown to win the game 24-18. And Jake Bates, our boy, Jake Bates, will probably be kicking in the National Football League here in a very short amount of time. Did not attempt a field goal in this game, which also means didn't miss a field goal in this game. So shout out to Jake Bates as he continues to be one of the shining stars here in the UFL. Also, Matthew Coughlin, the kicker for the Memphis Showboats, kicked a 55-yard field goal at the horn right before halftime. That's not easy. So kudos to him and kudos to Memphis Showboats. I mean, your season's over. You kind of knew that going into this, but still did hard. Gave the Michigan Panthers basically all they could handle in this game. Chase Cook has again got the start. 10-16, a touchdown and a pick. Victor Darius was the leading rusher here as this team really struggled to rush the football. Really only averaged 2.5 yards a carry and only had 40 yards on the ground. Not going to get it done. Dawood Davis had 2 receiving touchdowns in this game. Had a 44-yard after the catch. So kudos to him, 65-yard long. On the other side, you got this quarterback situation here for the Michigan Panthers. I think it eventually will hold them back when it comes to big-time football time. But no mistakes here by the quarterback position. 2 touchdowns by both of their quarterbacks. Matthew Cogburn, the running back, had 93 yards rushing. He also had 2 touchdowns there. But as a whole, this team ran for 161 yards in this game, 4.5 yards per clip. And Devin Gray and Coleman Hikatuni, please, did I pronounce that right? Let me know down in the comments section. Hikatuni, I'm going to take a shot on that. Had the game-winning touchdown. So kudos to him and kudos to the Michigan Panthers. They clinch a playoff spot with this victory over the Memphis Showboats as they move into week number 9. And then staying in Saturday, staying in the UFL bracket, we got the Birmingham Stallions going up against the Houston Roughnecks. And the Roughnecks, low-key, had their best offensive output game this season, but it just simply wasn't good enough to even remotely compete with the Birmingham Stallions. This game was relatively close in the second quarter as Mark Thompson rushed the ball in for 3 out of the 3 yards out. The score at that time was 15-4. Birmingham, but then it was all Birmingham after that. They punched in another touchdown with Adrian Martinez on the ground. They make it 21-14. And then they immediately scored a touchdown in the second half. Amari Rogers, former Green Bay Packer, catches the touchdown. They also catch the 2-point conversion. Jordan Thomas, I don't think that's still that Bronco Jordan Thomas. It can't be. But they up 28-14. The Houston Roughnecks tried to make things interesting. They got another touchdown towards the end of the game, and then they had a touchdown there in the fourth quarter, but unable to claw back into this game as Adrian Martinez had 2 rushing touchdowns in this game, 1 for 8 yards, 1 for 4 yards, and 1 for 4 yards, and they win this game 35-28. Looking at some of the stats here, we got Henderson Nolan was the leading rush passer for the Roughnecks, 9 of 14 for 97 yards. On the other side, Adrian Martinez continues to be brilliant. He's probably the MVP of the league so far this year. Threw for 3 touchdowns, ran for 2 others. This team as a unit ran for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game at 5.5 yards per clip. Houston Roughnecks, they did run the football pretty well in this game. 32 carries, 135 yards. They had 3 rushing touchdowns for their wares here. As we had a Deion Kane, Mari Rogers, Benjamin Victor. I apologize in advance. I'm butchering that name because it is a bit of a doozy. And then on the other side, Brandon Bowman had the lone receiving touchdown for the Houston Roughnecks. As the Birmingham Stallions continue their undefeated season, probably will be undefeated through the rest of the year. But they don't have anything to play for now, so I don't know how motivated they're going to be to really continue to win and continue to push for that best record. I think they already have the best record over whoever comes out of the XFL as well. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. But Roughnecks, this is kind of a game to build on. You haven't been particularly good on offense so far this season, and now you have a game. We put up 28 points. Pretty sure that's your highest scoring output of the season. Got to feel good about that. And then into XFL Sunday, the DC Defenders season was put to an end in this game as they fall to the St. Louis Battlehawks, who AJ McCarron did not play in this game. His status for the next one is still kind of up in the air. We'll see if he ends up coming back. They're going to need him if they really want to compete in the playoffs, especially against a very tough defense in the San Antonio Brahmas. They win this game 26-21. This was a pretty good game, pretty entertaining back and forth affair with, they each trade field goals there in the first and second quarter. But then the St. Louis Battlehawks, Jacob Sailors, he rushes in for a touchdown, 9-3. Matthew Crane punches in a field goal basically at the horn at the end of the half to make it 9-6. They come out in the second half and immediately score a touchdown. Jordan Tiamo actually had a pretty solid game here. But then after that, it was really mostly Battlehawks. They had a touchdown, they got a field goal, and they got another touchdown out of Wayne Gallman, who had 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. That was basically all she wrote. DC Defenders did get a touchdown in this game in the fourth quarter to make it 21-20, their advantage. But then St. Louis goes down the field with 2 minutes left. They get at the end of the game-winning touchdown. The Defenders unable to move the football in the final drive. They lose. DC Defenders also they're eliminated with this loss. So a promising season last year, really struggled this year. They're basically just barely. They're not even 500-3-5. So that's not what you want at all. To the stats, Jordan Tiamo was better in this game, but he really hasn't really kind of captured that same magic he had last season. I don't really know what the difference has been. The roster is mostly the same. 23 of 40, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions as well. Sorry. I just got a couple Facebook messages, so I was just checking that out real quick. Manny Wilkins, who got the start for AJ McCarron. They didn't ask him to do a whole lot in this game. 18 pass attempts for 126 yards. But the best part about this, they didn't hurt him. No touchdowns, no interceptions. He was also their leading rusher. He ran for 79 yards. They ran for 141 as a team. Wayne Gallman had those 2 rushing touchdowns. Same thing with Jacob Sailor had 1. They averaged 4.5 yards per clip. The DC Defenders actually had a really good rushing game in this, 5.2 yards per carry in this game. And Ty Scott and Alex Ellis had the receiving touchdowns for the DC Defenders. On the other side, Akeem Butler was sort of kept in check in this game. AJ McCarron has been, without AJ McCarron, I'm not sure how good Akeem Butler can be in this in UFL. 3 carries for 39 yards as St. Louis Battlehawks. I don't think they for sure didn't clinch up the number 1 seed in the UFL. They still have a lot to play for in their division. And then on the final game on Sunday, we got the Arlington Renegades going up against the San Antonio Brahmas. And Arlington, they did get their first win of the season a couple weeks ago, last week actually. But they do not get off the schneid here. They fall back into their kind of losing ways here. They lose to the San Antonio Brahmas 20-15. But this was a game that was fairly competitive throughout. At least in the second half. San Antonio Brahmas got off to a quick 13-0 lead, given a touchdown. Anthony McFarland caught a 52-yard rushing reception for Quentin Dormady, who may be one of those guys that comes in and just plays well in the UFL towards the end of the season here. But then the Arlington, they got on the board. They scored a field goal before the halftime, but then San Antonio scored another touchdown right before the half with 3 minutes left in the half to go up 23, and that was basically all she wrote. For this game is Arlington did score 2 touchdowns, both in the third and fourth quarter, but just not enough offense for the Arlington Renegades to come back and beat the San Antonio Brahmas as they win this game 20-15. Real quick, looking at the stats, Luis Perez, he was really pretty good in this game, actually. 22 of 33, 209 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had that 67% completion percentage. They only rushed the ball for 65 yards in this game, and Sal Cannella and J.P. Payton each had receiving touchdowns for the Arlington Renegades, as their offense actually looked better than it has in other weeks so far this year, outside of that 47-point explosion they had last week. To the other side, Quentin Dormady, 17 of 25, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. They also ran for 73 yards as a team, but really only 2.6 yards per clip. Cody Lattimore had a massive game. So did Anthony McFarland. 3 catches for McFarland for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns, 52 yards being the long. Cody Lattimore had 6 catches for 116 yards. Just too much Brahmas for the Arlington Renegades as they fall in this game. Let me know what you think about these matchups, as every home team won this week. That's not necessarily been the case. And I actually think when I went back and did my predictions for last week, I actually may have had a clean sweep here for the first time in any week in the UFL, where I had picked every single game correctly. So kudos to me on that one. I'm very proud of that. That's my week 8 recap. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys thought about week 8. It really solidifies the end of the quote unquote regular season for many of these teams in the UFL. Thunder, Defenders, Renegades, Roughnecks, Showboats, season all over. For the Renegades, Showboats, and Roughnecks, their season has been over. But for Defenders, this was the death nail on their season for sure. To the week 9 schedule. Let's break it down. First, we got the Battlehawks going into Arlington, taking on the Renegades. Let me just real quick Google AJ McCarron's status for that game. I don't want to make a prediction without knowing his injury status. So just give me a second here. So he injured an ankle. So I mean, if you're the Battlehawks and you have a playoff spot clinched up, I'm not totally sure you want to try to risk him in a game that's. Oh, his ankle's broken. I don't know. I'm going to assume he's not going to play. Let's just go off that assumption. With that being said, I will take the Battlehawks to still win this game. I think they'll do just enough on offense to beat the Arlington Renegades, who at times have been inept on offense. To the Stallions and the Brahmas, which could be a preview of the UFL Championship in 4 weeks. The Stallions, they're undefeated going into San Antonio. The Brahmas, who have won 2 straight, they're 6-2. And they're still playing for like playoff seeding, right? Because they still need to have that edge over St. Louis in the standings. They're tied right now, both these teams 6-2. I'm in a mini upset. I'm going to take the San Antonio Brahmas. I think the Stallions, even though they are the better football team on paper, I think San Antonio is going to get them in this game. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. You think that's a hot take? That might be a hot take. To the Michigan Panthers taking on the Roughnecks. This is easy. I'm taking the Michigan Panthers. I haven't seen anything out of the Roughnecks outside of their offensive output this most recent week. But I haven't seen anything out of them that makes me think that they can put together any kind of real run at the end of the season here. And then the final matchup, DC Defenders going up against the Memphis Showboats. I will take the DC Defenders, but I don't think it matters or anyone cares who wins this game. But hopefully you guys have all enjoyed so far the UFL. Those are my predictions. Put them down if you want to use them for betting or whatever you want to do. Go ahead and do so. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the UFL so far this season. I very much enjoyed it. I very much enjoy spring football. So give me more of that. I hope, but I have said in multiple episodes that the UFL needs to start as soon as the week after the Super Bowl. I think people are clamoring for football. I think you got to get into the UFL before the NBA playoffs start. I think ratings will definitely show that as they go up against the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals in the NBA. So I think that we'll see what ends up happening moving forward. I always gripe about this. Like basically, TJ knows if he was on the show right now. At ESPN, put some effort into the website for the UFL. Like we can't get stats, we can't get like box scores. You have that for every other sport you guys cover besides the UFL. It's kind of pissing me off. But thanks for listening to me rant for, what is it, 15 minutes or so, whatever, how long it's been since I started this episode up. But thank you very much. I'm David Huffman. Thank you very much for joining us here on Prime Sports World. Look forward to our content this weekend. We're going to be breaking down some stuff going on in the National Basketball Association, as long as we're swinging into some of our NBA stuff. Now that the schedule's out, the rookies have all kind of signed their rookie deals. So that's all pretty exciting. But like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We give you guys daily content, both streaming on our platforms on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. But also we have a website where we post content over there with articles and blog posts. So go check out all that stuff. But thank you very much for joining me. We were trying to be the number one hub for all things UFL. So continue watching, continue liking and subscribing, and you all have a good night and stay safe out there. And don't forget, here at Prime Sports World, we bring the heat. Peace out.